Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And it is time to do our next class, which is the Grave Domain Cleric out of Ravenloft Horrors Within. I actually like this one. We are going to compare this one to the Legacy version, Grave Domain Cleric, because there are some differences. So I want to point out those differences. We're going to grade this. So let's go ahead and jump in and let's look at this. Grave Domain Cleric embody deific forces of death. The Grave Domain concerns itself with the boundary between life and death. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. So we've got our Grave Domain spell list. And when you reach a cleric level specified in the Grave Domain spell, you thereafter always have the listed spells prepared. So there's some good ones in here, there's some stinkers in here, and we're going to also look at the ones that the Legacy version has. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one first. And here it is. Here we had Bane and False Life. We only had 2 at first level. At third level, we get some more. So there's in the older version, you could take Grave Domain at first level. In the new version of D&D 5.5, you have to be third level to get a subclass. So we've got Bane, False Life, Gentle Repose, and Ray of Enfeeblement. We're gonna put all those together for first and third level. For third level, we've got Detect Evil and Good. We are not starting out very well. Not very strong with that one. This is one of the worst spells in the game. You get it for free, but I'm not sure I would use spell slots for this one. It's just not that great. It doesn't actually detect good and evil. It senses aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiend, and undead. So your buddy that's a goblin, you're going to be able to detect them. Not a fan of this spell. We do get False Life, so that was something that we were getting at first level here. We are getting Gentle Repose. The Legacy version gets Gentle Repose. We do get Ray of Enfeeblement. That is also something we got on the Legacy version. And instead of getting Bane, they're giving us Spare the Dying, which is a cantrip. Okay, there is that. I'll take it. It doesn't replace Bane. I don't know why they got rid of Bane, but they got rid of Bane. So not my favorite. All right, at 5th level, we get Revivify and Vampiric Touch. That is not a difference from the Legacy version. I love getting Revivify as a prepared spell. They get this essentially for free and can use it when they need it. Vampiric Touch is actually a pretty good spell. You do some damage, you get some hit points left, and it's a concentration spell. So there is that. But until the spell ends, you can make an attack on each of your turns. Using a magic action, you target the same creature or a different one. The same thing happens, and you can upcast. At 7th level, we're getting Blight and Death Ward. And that is also not a change. I do like the fact that we're getting Death Ward. So we don't have to put it in a slot. We don't have to prepare it. It doesn't take one of our prepared spells. We got it there just in case we need it, and it is not concentration. And then finally, at 9th level, we get Dispel Evil and Good, which doesn't necessarily dispel evil or good. It dispels celestials, elementals, faes, fiends, and undead. So your goblin friend, guess what? They're going. And then we also get Raise Dead. I like that, and that is a bit of a difference. So we've got Anti-Life Shell and Raise Dead, and they replaced Anti-Life Shell with Dispel Evil and Good. I think that's a better use. I think that's a much better use. Dispel Evil and Good, I think, is a better spell than Anti-Life Shell. And of course, we get Raise Dead. I like that. It's a panic button spell, so you don't need to prepare it, and it's there. All right, at 3rd level, we get Circle of Mortality. There's 2 different abilities that come in here. It's 3 different abilities, but we get Pull of Death and Return to Life. And for Circle of Mortality, we get this at 1st level. You get when you would normally roll 1 or more dice to restore hit points to a creature at 0, you instead get the highest number possible. That is this part right down here. We also get Spare the Dying as a bonus action. Spare the Dying is a cantrip. You learn it automatically. It doesn't count against the number of cantrips you know, and it has a range of 30 feet, and you cast it as a bonus action. Now you just get it as a bonus action. It does have a range of 15 feet now, so they took the 30 feet away. It used to be a touch spell, so now it's 15 feet. It is still a bonus action, so there is that. Now you get Pull to Death, which is not part of the legacy. So once per turn, when you deal damage to a creature that's missing any hit points, which is almost always going to be the case, by casting a spell or by hitting with an attack roll, that creature takes an extra 1d4 necrotic damage. This extra damage increases to 1d6 when you reach creature level 11. So all you have to do is cast a spell that does damage, or you have to hit it. And you're going to do the extra damage, d4 or a d6 at Cleric level 11. That's actually replacing something else that they didn't give. But this goes with every spell or attack roll. Every one. So it is very similar to like a Hunter's Mark or a Hex. It has, doesn't have the same ability as the Hex, but it does the damage that Hex does, which is great. And then additionally, when you normally would roll one or more dice to restore hit points to a creature at 0 with the spell, don't roll those dice. Instead, use the highest number possible for each die. And that is the same as this ability right here. So that's good. We don't get Eyes of the Grave. That is kind of unfortunate that they took that, but it is what it is. At 3rd level, we get Path to the Grave. As a bonus action, you present your holy symbol and expend a channel divinity and curse a creature you can see within 30 feet until the start of your next turn. While cursed, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. So it doesn't say when the curse ends. It just says you can curse until the start of your next turn. Okay, there we go. That is, so it's only around. That is replacing this Path to the Grave ability here that you got at 2nd level. You used your channel to divinity. You chose a creature within 30 feet, cursing it until the end of your next turn. The next time you or an ally hits the creature with an attack, that creature has vulnerability to all of that attack's damage, and then the curse ends. This is the legacy. It is now replaced with this disadvantage. So that creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. And let me see you repeat that. That creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, which is massive. That is a massively powered ability. Massive. For an entire turn. Channel Divinity. You get 2 of those, so you can do this twice in a combat. Finally, when you or an ally you can see hits the curse target with an attack roll, you can end the curse early to make the attack deal extra necrotic or radiant damage equal to your cleric level. So you don't get the vulnerability, but I would say that the disadvantage on saving throws is massive. That is super massive. And that never loses its flavor. No matter how high a level you are, you just go Channel Divinity, you're cursed, disadvantage on saving throws for a round, go. And then you let the rest of your party blast them with saving throw spells. That is massive. So I would say that's a huge upgrade. And it's great. Okay, at 6th level, we get Sentinel at Death's Door. So here it is, the Legacy version. You gain the ability to impede Death's progress as a reaction. When you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you suffers a critical hit, you can turn the hit into a normal hit. Any effects triggered by a critical hit are canceled, and you can use this a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. And then you regain all uses after a long rest. They have changed this, so when you or a bloodied creature you can see within 60 feet of you is hit with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to have the attack's damage. If the triggering attack roll was a critical hit, any effects triggered by the critical hit are canceled. So they added this in. So it used to be you just canceled a critical hit. Now they have to be bloodied, or it's you. They have to be bloodied. They take half damage, and you cancel the crit. And then, of course, you can use this a number of times equal to your Wisdom, and you get everything back after a long rest. So that's a little bit of a change. I do like this half damage. To me, it makes more sense you're doing this against a creature that is closer to Death's Door, Sentinel at Death's Door. So there it is. All right, and then finally we get Divine Reaper, but so here's the change. Potent spellcasting was 8th level. We added our Wisdom modifier to the damage we dealt with any Cleric cantrip. That was the legacy. That is now gone. I believe that this extra D4, D6 is a replacement for that. You would add your Wisdom modifier to the damage, which is going to be +4 or +5. This is not as much. That's 2.5, and this is 3.5. So but this is every single spell and every single attack roll, not just cantrips. So there's a wash there. So we don't get that anymore. But the Divine Reaper, we get 2 different things. We get Enhanced Necromancy, and we get Keeper of Souls. For the Keeper of Souls in the Legacy version, you can seize a trace of vitality from a parting soul and use it to heal the living. When an enemy you see dies within 60 feet of you, you or one creature of your choice that is within 60 feet regains hit points equal to the enemy's number of hit dice. You can use this feature only if you are incapacitated. Once you use it, you can't do so again until the start of your next turn. So you get to use that once around as a reaction. Here it is right here. Same exact wording. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest unless you expend a 6th level spell slot to restore it. So there is that. Now, when an enemy dies within 60 feet, you or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you regains hit points equal to twice your Cleric level. And the Enhanced Necromancy is when you cast a spell of 5th level or lower from the Necromancy school that targets one creature, or when you cast a spell from the Grave Domain spell table. That's this one right here. We're looking at Vampiric Touch is probably the one, or Blight. So when you cast one of those spells, you can expend a use of your Channel Divinity to target a second creature within the spell's range. If the spell requires costly or consume material components, you must provide them. Okay, so there is that. So this one you can only use like essentially once a combat because it's for every short rest. The Legacy version was every turn. So I guess it's kind of a wash because this is not in the Legacy version at all, but this one is. So it's kind of a wash. I would say I do like this one. As far as a grade goes, we're going to give this an A- as a Cleric. I think this is one of the more powerful Clerics. I may do a build with this one just because it is an A-. And, I think is this going to be integral to a build? Yep, absolutely. Is this going to be something that is going to influence the party pretty substantially in combat? Absolutely, especially this Path to the Grave, where you give disadvantage on saving throws with the use of a Channel Divinity. That is massive, absolutely massive. So I think that is the main one. But I do like the spell list. The spell list didn't really change that much. I do like this Pull to Death. It is a little bit of extra damage on every spell. You get the extra healing when they're at 0. You get the Spare the Dying Still as a bonus action. You get some extra damage. It's not as much as it would be with the old Path of the Grave. I do like the Sentinel at Death's Door. That's pretty good. Divine Reaper. This one's pretty good too. So I actually like this a lot. I would consider making a Grave Domain Cleric. We're giving this one an A-. All right. That is the video that I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.